Most men spend their lives trying to fix themselves, but they are working from a blueprint of failure. You have been told that self-improvement is a noble pursuit, that if you just add enough habits, enough productivity hacks, enough positive affirmations, you will finally become the man you were meant to be. This is a lie told to you by the negotiator. The negotiator is that quiet, persistent voice in your mind that thrives on the illusion of progress while keeping your core identity exactly where it is. Safe, comfortable, and stagnant. You don't need to fix yourself. You need to liquidate yourself. You must understand that the version of you that currently exists is the very thing standing in the way of the person you need to become. If you allow the negotiator to survive this season, if you enter another year carrying the same ghosts of your past, the same patterns of rationalization, and the same attachments to your lower nature, you will remain a slave to comfort forever. The world does not need a slightly better version of your current weaknesses. It needs that version dead. Seneca once observed that a transformation is not merely an improvement, it is a total change of state. If the negotiator wins this winter arc, you are not just losing time, you are losing the only war that matters. You are choosing to die in the same skin you were born in, never knowing the strength of a mind that has unlearned how to be a slave. To reach the other side, we must move through 3 distinct levels of liquidation. First, shadow decimation, where we confront the repressed parts of our nature that pull us back into the dark. Second, Memento Mori, the practice of the daily death, where we learn to treat every evening as a closing of the account, letting go of the ego that craves the world's approval. And finally, the strategic elimination of the internal enemy, the cold, calculated process of identifying the character traits that no longer serve your purpose and systematically destroying them. The negotiator is expecting you to compromise. It is expecting you to listen to this and do nothing. Prove it wrong. The work is yours to do. To liquidate the self, you must first understand the anatomy of your own stagnation. Within every man lives a hidden architect of failure, what Carl Jung identified as the shadow. Most people believe their shadow is merely a collection of their bad traits, their anger, their lust, or their greed. But the shadow is far more sophisticated. It is the seat of the negotiator. It is that part of your psyche that has memorized every one of your insecurities, every past trauma, and every moment of weakness. It uses these hidden archives to build a case for why you should remain small, why you should wait until tomorrow, and why the risk of change is too high. Jung famously wrote that no tree can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell. This is not a poetic suggestion. It is a psychological law. If you wish to reach the heights of discipline and sovereignty, you must be willing to descend into the wreckage of your own character. You cannot destroy what you refuse to acknowledge. The negotiator survives because you keep it in the dark, allowing it to whisper in the corridors of your subconscious, where you cannot challenge its logic. Shadow decimation is the process of dragging those whispers into the light of day. It is the refusal to ignore your cowardice, your laziness, and your desire for the approval of others. The negotiator wins every time you mistake your comfort for safety. It tells you that by avoiding the difficult conversation, by skipping the grueling workout, or by delaying the pivot in your career, you are protecting yourself. In reality, you are feeding the monster. You are allowing the roots of your soul to rot in the shallow soil of mediocrity. To grow, you must cultivate a dark stoicism. You must become a predator of your own weaknesses. You must look at the parts of yourself that you are most ashamed of, and instead of turning away in disgust, you must study them with the cold, clinical detachment of a general observing an enemy's fortifications. You do not fix the shadow, you integrate its power. You take the aggression you've suppressed and turn it into drive. You take the ego you've hidden and turn it into an unshakable standard of excellence. But confronting the monster is only the first step. Recognition without action is merely a new form of entertainment for the mind. To keep the negotiator under control and to ensure that the old version of you does not crawl back out of the grave, you must learn how to die every single day. To liquidate the self, you must become comfortable with the scent of your own ending. The negotiator's greatest weapon is time. Specifically, the way it convinces you that you have an infinite supply of it. It lures you into a false sense of continuity, making you believe that the man who woke up this morning is the same man who will go to sleep tonight. This is a psychological trap. By maintaining this illusion of a continuous self, the negotiator keeps you tethered to your past failures and your future anxieties. It uses the guilt of yesterday to paralyze your hands today, and uses the fear of tomorrow to ensure you never take the necessary risks of the present. The Stoics understood that the only way to break this tether is through the practice of Memento Mori, not as a morbid obsession with the grave, but as a tool for radical presence. You must learn to view the past as a foreign country, a place where you no longer hold citizenship. Seneca wrote with haunting clarity that we are dying every day. For every day, a portion of our life is taken from us. Even when we are growing, our life is on the wane. Most men think of death as a single event, waiting for them at the end of a long road. They are wrong. Death is happening now. Every hour that passes is already in death's possession. When you realize that the last 60 minutes are gone forever, you begin to understand the urgency of liquidation. The version of you that hesitated an hour ago is dead. The version of you that made excuses yesterday is dead. Why? Then, do you insist on carrying their corpses into the present? The negotiator wants you to mourn your past self, to coddle your trauma, and to negotiate with your old habits as if they still have a right to exist. But Memento Mori demands that you perform a daily execution. Every night, when you close your eyes, you must audit your soul. You must look at the day's negotiations, the moments you chose the path of least resistance, and you must leave those versions of yourself in the dark. You do not bring them into the sunrise. By treating every morning as a reincarnation, you strip the negotiator of its leverage. It cannot use a past that you have already buried. This is the art of daily death. It is the constant, rhythmic shedding of the skin that no longer fits the man you are becoming. It is the realization that you are not a fixed monument, but a fire that must be fed with the wood of your former selves. But a philosophy of death is useless without a strategy for war. Once you have cleared the ghosts of yesterday, you must eliminate the traitors in your ranks today. Once the ghosts of your past have been buried, you are left with the reality of the present. But the present is not a place of peace. It is a war room. If you are to achieve true sovereignty, you must adopt the cold, calculated perspective of the strategist. Robert Greene and Machiavelli did not view power as a moral pursuit. They viewed it as a series of maneuvers. To liquidate your identity, you must apply this same clinical gaze inward. You must stop viewing your personality as a sacred essence and start viewing your character traits as a portfolio of assets and liabilities. In the theater of your mind, the negotiator has planted traitors. These are the traits you have coddled because they feel comfortable or because they allow you to fit in. Think of the need for approval. You call it being a good person. But in the logic of power, it is a liability. It is a leak in your fortress that allows the opinions of others to dictate your worth. Think of hesitation. You call it caution. But it is a traitor that freezes your hand when the window of opportunity is narrowest. Identity liquidation demands that you treat these traits like bad investments in a failing company. If a part of your character, such as the tendency to be nice at the cost of the truth, is consistently yielding a deficit of respect and progress, it must be liquidated. There is no room for sentimentality in a war for survival. You do not try to change a traitor. You remove them from the ranks. You do not negotiate with a liability. You sell it off and move on. This is the dark edge of Stoicism. It is the realization that to be truly effective, you must be willing to kill the parts of yourself that make you a victim. When Machiavelli suggested, it is better to be feared than loved, he was speaking to the prince, but you are the prince of your own domain. If you love your weaknesses more than you value your potential, you have already lost the crown. Scan your internal horizon right now. Identify the trait that has cost you the most over the last year. Is it your inability to say no? Is it your addiction to digital distraction? Is it the way you minimize your own ambition to make others feel comfortable? Whatever it is, label it a traitor. See it for what it is, an internal enemy working for the negotiator to ensure you never leave the trenches. Strategic elimination means making the decision right now that this trait no longer has a seat at your table. It is gone, not through a slow process of healing, but through a sudden, decisive act of will. When the internal traitors are gone, only the sovereign remains, and the sovereign does not negotiate. The man you were 10 minutes ago no longer exists, unless you choose to resurrect him. If you have followed this path, if you have decimated the shadow, embrace the daily death, and purge the traitors from your internal war room, you have achieved something few men ever will. You have completed the liquidation. What remains is not a better version of your old self. It is something entirely unrecognizable to the world. You are no longer a collection of reactions, a slave to your moods, or a beggar for validation. You are the sovereign. People will look at you and notice a coldness, a lack of the usual friction that defines the average man. They will try to find the handles they used to pull to manipulate you, but the handles are gone. You have smoothed the surface of your soul. You move through the world with the quiet authority of one who has already died and seen the worst of himself, and therefore has nothing left to fear from others. Your decisions are no longer filtered through the lens of how will this feel or what will they think. They are filtered through the singular lens of purpose. You have traded the heavy, rusted chains of your old identity for the light, sharp edge of a master strategist. The negotiator is dead. The version of you that pleaded for more sleep, more comfort, and more time has been liquidated. You are now the silent observer of your own power. You do not need to announce your change to the world. Power does not shout. It simply exists. It acts, and it expects no applause. You are the tree that has touched the heavens because you were brave enough to let your roots rot in the hell of your own making. You are the prince who has reclaimed his throne by first burning the palace of his own excuses. Remember, this is not a destination. The liquidation must be performed every time the sun sets. Every morning is a new opportunity for the negotiator to return, and every morning you must be ready to kill him again. Do not look back. There is nothing for you in the ruins of who you used to be. The ghosts of your weaknesses are calling out to you, but you no longer speak their language. The work is yours to do. Fortune, like a kingdom, belongs to those who have the courage to destroy themselves.